first you want to cut out the old cone. I'm going to be reusing these original tinsel leads here. These will replace on the back. So first what you want to do is, I don't know why the screen is so dark. What the heck? Go ahead and cut around the edge. I'm leaving a slight lip, about 1/4 inch, for the new cone to sit on, because the new cone is a slightly smaller diameter, and it needs a lip to be glued to. This works all the time. This is also brought to you by Kester Solder. This is good stuff. Once you've got your cut around the edge, you want to be careful and do the next step carefully. Cut the cone around the voice coil. When you're doing it over here, you don't want to cut the tinsel leads, because if you do, you'll be in Poop Creek. You want to kind of give the cone some support so you don't damage the coil, and because this cone is so brittle, we can just cut it without even using a knife. You also want to prevent from cutting the spider. And the original cone is actually in fairly decent condition, except for those few spots. Always keep a fraction of the cone that has the date code and part number for reference. Set that aside. And as you can see, here's the little lip we've made for the new cone to sit on. This also means we do not have to remove the gasket, because these paper gaskets are very difficult to take off without destroying. And as you can see, my favorite color, red, this glue looks kind of interesting, and it's I'm going to go ahead and glue that down because this glue can crystallize over the years. I want to use something like this for indoor speakers. Outdoor speakers, you use regular epoxy or whatever you like. Here we go. Got the spider glued down. Now I'm going to smooth the glue out a little bit. In the case that this glue, the original glue, will come apart, the spider will not come apart. And this is a major step that has to be followed always. The edge usually lasts a little bit longer. Now I want to remove a little bit more of the original cone. Now I want to salvage these original wires. What I do is I heat up a soldering iron. For speaker repairs, I use my 25-watt Weller soldering iron. because it's hot enough to melt the glue and melt the solder without destroying the surrounding cone too badly. Okay, now we're going to be testing the dry fit on the reverse dry fit here. It works really well. This is a used speaker cone out of I believe a Sound Design speaker. Not really a Sound Design, but made for them. I'm going to be changing the scheme a little bit here. We're not going to be going with a felt dust cap. Before I took the speaker apart, I noted that this thing had a horrible high frequency response, yet there was no tweeters existing in the cabinet. There was just 2 holes in each side, and there wasn't any bolt holes or screw holes around the holes, so those were ports. But we'll be using the original Wizard cone. This is what it's going to look like. Something like this. So, let's go ahead and remove these dry-fitted parts. See how well I can catch this. Got the tinsel lead out. I want to shield your eyes when you do this too. Okay. Got the original tinsel leads out. I may be able to reuse the originals, it just depends. The new one has nice long, thicker copper versions. And it also has wires traveling down the cone here. Now I want to get the wire out. What I do is I kind of stick my blade down in there. Oops, I can't see that, can you? Kind of skim it. Okay, we got that one right there. Don't know how easy that is to see. Look right here, this is the wire. Okay, I got both of the tinsel leads out here and here. And now we're going to be removing the old dust cap. It's made of felt. And first we're going to remove the cone and keep it as clean as possible because we did put fresh glue on around the outside. Usually this would be a step you would do after you remove this, but it's okay. Got a little dust into it right here, but that'll be alright. This glue turns completely clear in about 12 hours. So, carefully. What I'm doing is I'm bending this cone down off the voice coil without pulling the former out of the coil or any weird things like that. Now the part with the wires going down it is very difficult not to break them. Okay, we have a success. Don't know how easy it is to tell, but tired today. Here's the wires. Go ahead and pull it. The thing is with wires on voice coils, if it doesn't want to come, don't pull on it. If it feels okay like these do, and they're moving okay, don't pull them because you'll rip them, and then you'll have to completely recone these speakers, and it's almost impossible to do. Especially if it's not a popular speaker, does not have drop-in voice coil replacements. I've recoiled several speakers before, but I don't like doing that, and I don't do it anymore. That's the thing. Actually, I do sometimes. If it's a rare speaker, and if part of the coil is left behind so I know what size the coil would be, that's the way I would recone or recoil a speaker. Okay, what I've done is I removed most of the paper medium from there. What I did now was I ran upstairs real quick, took a lighter, these tinsel leads here, because they have a red, not dye, but coloring on them, and these right here have been tinned, or oops, can't see that, can you? I've burned off the enamel off these wires, and I'll do the same for these here. Now's the time to remove the wire, which should have been done earlier. If this came out of a cabinet or something, or radio maybe, you always want to mark polarity, or which wires went where. I always reuse old tinsel lead or pig wires, or pigtail as I call it. Always keep those. You never know what you could do with them. Now I'm going to take these upstairs and clean this wire off. Okay, now I have shims, and what shims do is they hold the voice coil centered in the voice coil gap, as long as the whole piece is centered. Sometimes it's not, especially in older speakers. But basically all it is a little sheet of paper. I make mine with a little dog ear on top so they don't get stuck down in there, especially on speakers with deep voice coil gaps. See how far it'll scoot down in there, and it only scoot down until it hits the dog leaf or dog ear onto the pole piece, so it doesn't slide too far down inside there and get stuck and render the speaker useless unless I completely do a full removal of this spider. And the spider helps the voice coil keep centered and keep it from flopping out of the magnetic voice coil gap and pushing the cone out like this, causing, problems with that. Now I'm going to push the coil wires out here. This voice coil hole is slightly too small for this, because it sits down kind of funny on it, so I pulled the wires up out of the way. I'm going to cut this little lip off with wire cutters, and it's pretty simple. Okay, now I want to go ahead and start applying glue to the voice coil area and to the edge, or the lip, that the voice cone, replacement cone will sit on. As you can see, I don't know if it's easy to tell over here, but I love scrapping blown speakers. And if you need a speaker cone to repair your speaker, or need me to repair your speaker, send me a personal message. I'd love to help you out. I've got oodles of these cones, and I've got oodles of mint condition blown speakers. Don't know how I ended up with all these blown speakers, but I did. And the cones are usually in pristine condition. Okay, now this tacky glue is ready. We're going to be applying a little bit of glue to the outside of the voice coil and on the top of it. Just like that. As you see, the glue is applied nice and neat. And next we'll be applying glue to the speaker cone and setting it down on the voice coil and on the edge. There you can see the glue here and on the cone you just saw. So now we're going to be setting this cone in place. Patience is key in this situation. You do not want any of the glue to leak over inside the voice coil, and you do not want the glue to stick to the voice coil shims that we have temporarily sat in there, because if that happens, like I said, you'll be up poop creek and you have to be pulling out big sheets of sticky paper out of the voice coil gap. Now what I'm doing is I'm setting the voice coil cone in place, on the edge. Look how seamlessly great that looks. I don't know if I can... I can't... What the heck is wrong with my hand today? See that? That voice coil? Looks good, doesn't it? Then, just set a weight on the cone. Keep make sure the cone sticks to the lip of the old cone. And, since the voice coil is aligned, it'll be glued in place as well. And let it sit for at least maybe about an hour, and then come back later, check it. Always reset it every once in a while to make sure it sticks and sits correctly. And there you go. First, you want to cut out the old cone. I'm going to be reusing these original tinsel leads here. These will replace on the back. So, first what you want to do is, I don't know why the screen is so dark. What the heck? Go ahead and cut around the edge. I'm leaving a slight lip, about a 1/4 inch, for the new cone to sit on, because the new cone is a slightly smaller diameter, and it needs a lip to be glued to. This works all the time. You also want to prevent from cutting the spider. And the original cone is actually in fairly decent condition, except for those few spots. Always keep a fraction of the cone that has the date code and part number for reference. Set that aside. And as you can see, here's the little lip we've made for the new cone to sit on around the voice coil. When you're doing it over here, you don't want to cut the tinsel leads, because if you do, you'll be in Poop Creek. We want to kind of give the cone some support so we don't damage the coil, and because this cone is so brittle, we can just cut it without even using a knife. This is also brought to you by Kester Solder. This is good stuff. Once you've got your cut around the edge, you want to be careful and do the next step carefully. And cut the cone